Quentyn Harlo stood in the dim back office of his sprawling headquarters, a quiet storm gathering in his chest. In front of him, a glowing sea of spreadsheets blinked with data, numbers, bookings, percentages. But none of it spoke to him. 13 locations had just wrapped a record-breaking summer season. On paper, everything gleamed with success. Yet something was wrong. A low hum of complaints had begun to surface, not about prices, not about the boats themselves, but about the people, the service. Boats not prepped on time, guests left wandering, searching for help, staff that looked like they were drowning in their own exhaustion. His assistant had offered a simple explanation. New hires, short staffing, summer chaos. But Quentyn had a personal rule, an old one he picked up back when it was just him and a single skiff. If the same kind of complaint crossed his desk more than 3 times, he didn't send emails. He didn't schedule calls. He went. In person. He chose Store 7, the lakeside location. 2 hours out, a jewel of a site tucked against a sparkling stretch of water. It had been a favorite when it launched 4 years ago, but he hadn't set foot there since the ribbon cutting. None of the current staff had ever met him. In fact, most assumed the chain was run by a faceless hedge fund or a shell corporation, just another corporate ghost behind the curtain. He'd made sure to keep it that way. Anonymity had been his secret weapon for years. This time, he took it further. The beard came off. His salt and pepper hair was dyed darker, cutting years off his face. He ditched his usual business attire for sun-faded cargo shorts and a weathered tee that had seen better days. He even had someone at HQ call ahead, pretending to be a regional rep. The message was simple and dismissive. Lazy trainee incoming. Just keep him out of the way. He arrived on a sweltering Monday morning, the air thick with the scent of lake water and sunblock. A dozen cars were parked haphazardly across the gravel lot. Inside, a frustrated family argued with a half-asleep teenager behind the counter, their voices sharp with tension. Behind them, the manager sat in sunglasses indoors, scrolling on his phone without so much as a glance upward. "You the new guy?" Todd muttered, not even bothering to lift his eyes. "Rick," Quentyn said, slipping fully into character. "Whatever. Go find Cody. He'll show you how to mop or something." Todd waved him off like a mosquito and turned back to his screen. Outside, Cody was a wiry 20-something with oil-streaked arms and a sunburn peeling across his shoulders. He was crouched beside a pontoon boat, replacing a fuel line with quiet urgency. "You Cody?" Quentyn asked, stepping carefully over a tangle of cords. Cody straightened, wiping his hands on a rag. "Yeah." "You must be Rick, the trainee?" "That's me." "Cool, grab those rags. Gotta get this fixed before the 11 o'clock. He didn't smile, didn't ask questions, just moved. Quentyn followed, his eyes scanning every detail. Cody's fluid, practiced movements, the quiet panic beneath the pace, the way his hands moved like he'd done this 100 times before, and yet, somehow, it still felt like a race against the clock. "How many people handle maintenance here?" Quentyn asked. "Just me," Cody replied, still focused on tightening a hose. Quentyn blinked. "Just you? For all these boats?" "Yeah. There used to be another guy, but he quit 3 weeks ago. They said they'd send help. Still waiting." 15 boats floated at the dock, some pristine, others clinging to functionality by threads. Cody was a one-man triage unit for a small navy. "What about Todd? Does he pitch in at all?" Cody snorted an exhausted, bitter laugh. "Todd? He doesn't come out of the office unless someone's screaming. Says maintenance ain't his job." Then a splash, loud, careless. A group of teenagers had taken off on a jet ski, laughing. Not a life jacket in sight. Quentyn's heart jolted. "Shouldn't someone have checked them?" he asked, watching the water churn. "Yeah," Cody muttered, wiping sweat from his brow. They're supposed to check in with Todd, but he never leaves the ace. Together, they lugged a heavy marine battery from the back shed. The storage room was chaos. Cables coiled like snakes in bins, tools scattered like shrapnel from a forgotten war. Everything spoke of neglect, of someone doing their best, with too little for too long. "You ever take a break?" Quentyn asked, gently. Cody gave a dry laugh. "Lunch? Crackers in the shed when I get a second." By noon, Quentyn was drenched in sweat, his muscles aching from the unfamiliar labor. 2 boats had engine trouble. A family arrived furious their rental hadn't been cleaned. Cody scrambled, apologizing profusely, trying to make it right. "Todd?" Still rooted at the front counter, phone in hand as though he were a guest in his own business. Then it happened. A woman tripped on a loose plank by the dock. Cody dashed over, grabbing a first aid kit with reflexes honed by necessity. Todd didn't budge. Instead, he shouted through the window, "Tell them to sign a waiver." Quentyn stood still for a moment, watching it all unfold. The clamor, the imbalance, the fatigue written into every corner of this place. And in that moment, something inside him shifted. Not anger, but a deep, profound disappointment. Not just in Todd, in himself. Somewhere along the way, the empire he built had grown tall enough to cast shadows he never saw coming. This wasn't just about operations. It was about people. About trust. About the promise his name once carried, even if no one remembered it anymore. He wasn't going to leave. Not yet. Not until he fixed it. That night, Quentyn lay on the stiff mattress of his roadside motel, the ceiling fan slicing shadows across the room like slow-turning blades. His back throbbed from a day spent hauling batteries and scrubbing decks. His palms were raw from work he hadn't done in years. But what kept him from sleep wasn't pain. It was guilt. The kind of guilt that settles into your bones, quiet and unshakable. He had built this company with his own 2 hands. In the early days, it was just him, a bucket, and a dream. He'd scrubbed boats until his knuckles bled, saved every dime, hired good people. And now, a kid barely old enough to rent a car was doing it all alone, while a manager sat in air-conditioned apathy, scrolling TikTok. Quentyn's empire had grown. Too big, maybe. Big enough that he'd stopped seeing the rot in the corners. He had to fix it, but not yet. Not until he saw how deep the cracks ran, how this place held up under pressure. He needed to see it at its worst. He needed to watch it burn. Thursday arrived like a storm. The 4th of July weekend loomed, and with it came the flood. By 8:30 a.m., the gravel lot churned with vacationers. Coolers clunked against car doors. Kids shrieked and darted between bumpers. Tension hummed in the air like static. At the counter, couples leaned forward, voices rising as delays stacked up. Quentyn, still Rick to everyone else, started the morning elbow-deep in lake scum, scrubbing the algae off a neglected catamaran. The bristles on the brush had all but disintegrated. The cleaner had been watered down so far it smelled like lake water. Cody, already soaked in sweat, was buried in an engine compartment, chasing a misfiring ignition. The poor kid hadn't even had a sip of coffee. Inside, chaos had its own rhythm. Todd, still in his shades, barked at a nervous girl named Elise. "You filed the inspection under J again. It goes under I for inspection. How many times do I have to say this?" Elise's voice was small but steady. "I was just doing what Michelle told me. That's how she did it last week." Todd didn't even look up. "Michelle's not here. I am. So do it my way." He dismissed her with a wave, like brushing lint from his shirt. Quentyn saw Elise's face twitch, just barely. She looked over, met his eyes for a second, then looked away and slipped out the door, tugging her sleeves over her arms despite the 90-degree heat. Outside under the shade, he caught up with her. "You okay?" he asked, voice low. "I'm fine," she replied quickly, jaw clenched. "Just tired. You working full-time?" 42 hours this week, she said. "Todd moved me off dock duty. Said we don't need 2 floaters. Now I'm stuck dealing with angry guests while he plays Candy Crush." Before he could respond, a sharp whistle cut the air. Cody was waving from the dock, holding up a blackened spark plug. "That's the 3rd one this week," he said as Quentyn approached. "Told Todd they're using cheap fuel again," he said. "Fuel's fuel. These old engines can't handle that crap." Quentyn examined the spark plug, blackened and cracked. "This gonna cause long-term damage?" Cody didn't hesitate. "Already has. That pontoon's gonna throw a rod before August." A bark of irritation broke the moment. "Hey, this thing's filthy," a man in designer shades pointed to his rental, lips curled in disgust. "We paid for premium. The seats are sticky." Quentyn stepped in. "I'm sorry, sir. We'll get it cleaned right away." The man's eyes narrowed. "You the manager?" "No, just crew." "Then get me someone who is." 5 minutes later, Todd strolled over, drink in hand, sunglasses still glued to his face. He didn't rush. He didn't care. "What's the issue?" he asked, monotone. The guest launched into a full-blown tirade. Todd waited, not out of patience, but apathy. When it ended, he replied flatly, "I'll comp you 10% if you stop yelling." 10%? The man shouted. "This is a $400 0-cent rental." Todd shrugged. "Take it or leave it. We've got a line." The man stormed off, dragging his wife and kids behind him. The children looked humiliated. Quentyn turned. "You want me to clean the boat for the next group?" Todd didn't look up. "Nah, they'll live." By mid-afternoon, Quentyn had cleaned 2 more boats, swapped another battery with Cody, and delivered bottled water to a party barge stalled at the far dock. Todd was nowhere. Later, Elise approached him quietly. "Rick," she whispered, glancing over her shoulder. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Is it normal for a manager to dock pay if someone takes too long on break?" Quentyn stiffened. "What happened?" "I clocked out for lunch yesterday, 22 minutes. Today, my sheet says I only worked 6.5 hours. I asked Todd, and he said, next time, don't wander off for half an hour. You tell HQ?" She shook her head. "I can't. I need this job." Quentyn felt a deep ache rise in his chest. He remembered being her age, living off scraps, counting hours like heartbeats, and he remembered, too, the first time someone skimmed his paycheck. He'd walked. But not everyone could. As the sun dipped behind the hills, casting the lake in golden stillness, the last boat limped into dock, its engine coughing like a smoker. On the back porch, Todd leaned against the railing, dragging on a vape pen. Quentyn walked up. "You got a sec?" Todd eyed him. "Rick, right? Still here?" "Yeah." "Just wondering if you want me on dock again tomorrow or covering front." "Gonna be slammed." Todd exhaled. "You're not gonna last long. Don't overthink it. You're here to mop floors and keep Cody from quitting." "That's it." Quentyn nodded slowly. "Got it." But he knew something Todd didn't. This story wasn't over. The next morning, long before the sun had burned through the morning haze, Quentyn pulled into the lot. Cody was already there, crouched by a trailer hitch, trying to jury-rig a backup battery to a jet ski that wouldn't start. His face was tired, determined, alone, but not for long. The morning haze was barely lifting when Quentyn found Cody crouched beside a ski trailer, hands deep in wiring. His shirt clung to his back with sweat, and his eyes were hollow with fatigue. "Did you sleep here last night?" Quentyn asked quietly. Cody didn't look up. "Didn't have a ride. Buses stop after 10, figured the shed was better than walking 5 miles. Quentyn's heart tightened. He swallowed before speaking, voice low and certain. "You're not staying here again. Not one more night." Before Cody could answer, the clang of metal broke the silence. Elise stood near the office door, a clipboard on the ground at her feet, face pale. "Todd just told me I'm not getting Saturday off," she said, voice shaking. "I put in the request 2 months ago, my sister's wedding." Cody rose. "He did the same to Brandon last month. Said approved doesn't mean guaranteed." Quentyn's jaw locked. Enough was enough. "Okay," he said, calm but with steel in his tone. "I've seen enough." He walked straight into the office. Todd was eating fries, feet up on the desk. "Hey Rick, we got a spill on Dock 3. Grab a mop." Quentyn shut the door behind him. "I'm not Rick," he said. Todd blinked. "What?" "My name is Quentyn Harlo. I own this company." Todd's expression cracked, eyes wide, mouth open, words caught somewhere between his throat and his ego. "I've been watching how you run this site," Quentyn said. "The negligence, the unsafe practices, the way you treat staff. It ends now." Todd stood, slowly. "Wait, hold on." "No. You've docked pay illegally. You've denied approved leave. I've got statements. I've seen it myself." "This is a misunderstanding," Todd stammered. "It's over. Effective immediately. You're done. I want to speak to corporate." "You're looking at it." Quentyn turned and walked out into the sun. Cody and Elise looked up as he gathered them, along with a few early dockhands arriving for their shift. "I'm Quentyn. I started this company 15 years ago with one pontoon boat and a plastic chair," he said. "And in the last few days, I've seen things that don't reflect the values I built this company on." He scanned their faces, worn, uncertain, hopeful. "You've been holding this place together without the support you deserve. That ends today." Elise blinked, lips parting in disbelief. "Todd is gone. Interim management is already en route. Until then, I'm staying here." He turned to Cody. "Starting today, you're lead tech. Double pay. Full crew coming next week. You help choose them." Cody opened his mouth, then just nodded. "At least," Quentyn said gently, "you have Saturday off. Your last 3 pay cycles are under review. If anything's missing, you'll be paid back. With bonus." She let out a breath like she'd been holding it for months. "There's a lot to fix," Quentyn added, "but I'm not leaving until it's done." Silence fell. Then Cody stepped forward. "All right, boss," he said with a grin. "Let's get to work." By Sunday morning, the heat was already thick and pressing. Quentyn leaned in the doorway of the office, watching the lot fill again. Families unloading, kids sprinting toward the dock. Dana, the interim manager, was due by noon. Until then, they were still running lean. Cody had arrived before dawn, not because he had to, but because he cared. He was already under a pontoon, checking the generator cables. Quentyn joined him silently, grabbing a wrench and tightening a bolt beside him. "Get any real sleep?" 4 hours, Cody replied. "Better than usual. Honestly, it's just nice to know someone's got our back." Quentyn nodded, but his mind was churning. He'd spent the night combing through a month's worth of incident logs. Most were missing. The ones that remained had no notes, just check marks. Todd hadn't been managing risk. He'd been hiding it. An older couple approached the dock. The woman looked familiar. He checked the clipboard. Mrs. Goldstein. Her reservation had been canceled without notice the week before. She'd driven 2 hours and left empty-handed. Quentyn stepped forward. "Morning, you must be the Goldsteins," he said warmly. The woman looked hesitant. "We are. I want to personally apologize for last week. Your boat is ready. Cleaned, fueled, stocked, and on the house." Her husband blinked. "You serious?" "Every bit of it." As they walked toward the boat, Elise emerged from the office, hair falling from her bun, papers in hand. Saturday coverage? Quentyn asked. 2 part-timers starting next week. Dana set it up. I'll train them. A scraping noise echoed from the end of the dock. Cody was crouched beside a fishing boat, face drawn. What's up? Quentyn asked. Prop shaft's bent. Someone hit a rock yesterday. Didn't report it. Fixable? Not today. Might be ready Tuesday. That's the 3rd this week. 4th, if you count the speedboat's ladder. Quentyn exhaled hard. This wasn't recent. It was systemic. A group of teens passed, one carrying a speaker blaring pop music. They climbed into a boat without jackets. Hold up, Quentyn said, striding over. Have you been checked in? We gave our name to the girl inside, one muttered. Life jackets? He asked. In the bin. We don't need 'em. You do, Quentyn said firmly. Every passenger. State law. They groaned but obeyed. Cody leaned close. Todd let them do whatever, called them regulars. Quentyn didn't reply. He didn't need to. Inside, Elise was balancing 2 phone lines. When she hung up, she turned to him. Customer says they were double charged last month, wants a call back. Forward it to Dana. Let them know we're reviewing billing. We'll make it right. Mention the audit? Not unless they ask. By noon, Quentyn was tying up a return jet ski. The rider, a red-faced man with mirrored glasses, tossed the key at Cody without a word. Hey, Cody called, but the man was already walking. Quentyn caught him at the gate. Sir, please hand keys to staff directly, not throw them. The man rolled his eyes. Seriously? Serious? Whatever, this place went soft. He walked off. Cody looked down at the jet ski. A fresh scratch carved its side. Then wasn't there this morning, he said. Quentyn took a photo and logged it. Inside, Dana was at the front desk, surrounded by files. She looked up. We need to talk. They stepped into the storage closet. I've reviewed the last 2 months, Dana said. Todd manipulated clock-ins manually, no paper trail. Elise is owed 20 hours, Cody's missing at least 30. Prioritize the corrections, Quentyn said. Every dime they're due. This company had lost its soul, but piece by piece he was getting it back. I want it paid out, Quentyn said firmly, with a thank you bonus attached. Dana paused, lips pressed into a line. That's not all. She handed him a page clipped to the top of a report. There's a pattern. The part-timers who weren't white almost never got weekend shifts. One of them, Elena, best-rated dockhand on staff, got a single Saturday all month. Quentyn's jaw clenched. She's still with us. Dana shook her head. Quit last week. No exit interview. Find her, he said. I want to offer her a job again, with a written apology and full back pay for the hours she was pushed out of. Dana nodded. Already working on it. Outside, the dock had slipped into a kind of harmony. Elise was helping an elderly man into a boat, adjusting his life vest straps with the steady calm of someone who knew what mattered. Cody, moving slower now, was wiping down a bench. His limp, an old injury from a high school soccer game, was more visible near the end of long shifts. How's the hiring push? Quentyn asked Dana as they walked. We've got interviews lined up for Tuesday, she said. 2 Marine techs and a retired Coast Guard officer, both interested in part-time dock work. Good, he replied. We need people who understand safety. I'll get there. That evening, Quentyn strolled the dock beside Cody, the sky painted orange and lavender as the sun dipped behind the hills. You ever think about certification? He asked. Cody raised an eyebrow. In what? Marine mechanics? You've already got the instincts. With training, you could run maintenance for the entire region. Cody scratched the back of his neck. Didn't think I'd be doing this more than a couple summers. Quentyn stopped. You're good at it, and you give a damn. That's rare. If you're open to it, I'll pay for the program. You complete it, we promote you again. More pay, more responsibility. Cody didn't answer at first. He looked out over the lake, its surface rippling gently under the falling sun. Then, softly, "Yeah, I'll do it." "It's yours," Quentyn said, and for a while they just stood there. No need for more words. The following week, the change was almost tangible. 2 new hires, Marcus, a former Marine tech with quiet precision, and Joel, a retired Coast Guard petty officer with a calming presence, fit into the team like missing pieces. Dana had made it clear from day one, they weren't here to fill gaps. They were here to build forward. But recovery was never instant. Todd's absence left wide cracks. Boats still limped in needing overdue repairs, and guests, burned by weeks of neglect, didn't trust the service yet. One morning, a mother arrived with 2 toddlers and a dog, only to find her rental boat wasn't fueled. Joel didn't argue or make excuses. She handed the woman bottled water, fueled the boat herself, and helped the kids aboard with the grace of someone who understood the stakes. Quentyn watched from a distance, his clipboard forgotten in hand. Sometimes leadership didn't mean speeches. Sometimes it was simply not letting people struggle alone. Inside, Elise was now training the latest new hire on the reservation system. She hadn't asked for a promotion, but Dana had made it official. Front desk lead. Her pay bumped. Her posture shifted, and people responded. She wasn't waiting for permission to lead, she was doing it. Out by the shed, Cody and Marcus had set up a humble but effective maintenance log. Whiteboards, clipboards, cleanly labeled bins. Each boat now had a checklist. 3 were flagged for dock-only use. It wasn't flashy, but it worked. "You 2 make a solid team," Quentyn said. "Marcus knows his engines," Cody replied. "I've learned more this week than I did in months." Marcus, still scribbling on the board, didn't look up. Kid's got instincts, just needed someone to invest in him. "You still in for that certification?" Quentyn asked. Cody nodded. "Already signed up. Starts next month." Quentyn smiled, brief but real. "That'll open doors, kid. Doors beyond this dock." That afternoon, Dana caught him by the paddle boards, a printed report in one hand. Payrolls corrected, bonuses added, no hiccups. "Good," Quentyn said. "There's more." Elena, the dockhand, called back. "She's working at a marina across the lake. Said she never thought we'd call. Be coming back. She starts Friday. But only if we treat her like she matters this time." "She will." As they spoke, a rusty delivery van pulled into the lot. Cody came out to meet the driver, wiping grease from his hands. "That's my order. BGE pumps, carb kits, spark plugs," he said, signing the receipt. Dana lowered her voice. "He's still here every morning before open, but he's pacing himself now, not burning out." "Needs to," Quentyn said. "That's what leaders do. They last." The next morning, Quentyn called a staff meeting under the awning. Dock hands, desk staff, new recruits, Joel, Marcus, everyone. He stepped forward, paper in hand. "I want to say something," he began. "This dock went through hell, but you showed up. You covered for each other when leadership failed." Eyes glanced around, silent nods followed. "And I'll be honest, that failure wasn't just Todd's, it was mine. I let this place drift. I trusted spreadsheets instead of people." Silence again, this one heavier. "Won't happen again. From now on, you'll be part of monthly feedback. Anonymous if you want. Input on hiring, equipment, scheduling. You live with these decisions. You deserve a say." Heads nodded. Elise's arms folded, her expression steady. "Second," he continued, "we're launching a cross-location development program. Want to move up? You'll have the path. Certs, leadership training, regional roles. Whatever your vision is, we'll back it." Cody glanced at Marcus, who nodded. "And finally, this dock is the pilot site for our new safety initiative. Joel's leading it. emergency prep, incident tracking, equipment checks, not just because the state requires it, but because we protect each other. Joel stepped forward. We start this weekend. Everyone. No exceptions. Quentyn folded his paper. We're not just surviving anymore. We're rebuilding, and you earned that. The sun was climbing. Guests trickled in. The team split off in pairs. Elise coached a rookie at the counter. Marcus tested a fuel hose. Cody was already beneath the speedboat again, grease on his arms, focus in his eyes. Quentyn walked the perimeter, the same gravel under his boots that he'd walked on 10 days ago. Then, as a ghost, now present. At the shed, he paused. Inside, everything was orderly, tools labeled, rags stacked. A small fan hummed over a folding chair. He taped a laminated sign to the door. Crew break area. You've earned it. Dana met him halfway back. HQ called, she said. They're asking if we're ready to roll this model out to 2 more sites. Quentyn looked toward the lake. Joel was helping a kid in a life vest. Elise laughed with a guest. Cody leaned over an engine, already sweating. Not yet, he said. Let's get this one right first. Dana smiled and didn't argue. That afternoon, just before close, a man in a polo appeared. Insurance audit, scheduled months ago. Elise paged Quentyn. They walked the grounds. The man checked waivers, inspected boats, flipped through logs. Finally, he paused. Staff seems engaged, he said. Not always the case for seasonal ops. They do it the way they can. The DA replied. We just stop getting in their way. The inspector nodded, made a note, and left. Quentyn remained, watching the last boat ease in under golden light. He thought of Elise's resilience, Cody's loyalty, Alina's second chance, Dana's quiet strength. And yes, he thought of Todd. How quickly one person can unravel a system when no one's watching, and how just as quickly the right ones, when seen, trusted, and empowered, can rebuild it all. No speeches, no grand gestures, just listening, acting, staying close enough to feel the gravel under your own shoes. He turned, walking back toward the office. There was still work to do, but for the first time in a long while, he didn't feel like he had to carry it alone.